A big hello to all the parents and or guardians out there. This is Ayman Beg from the city of Naperville in Illinois. Um, I have put together this presentation to share my learning as a parent uh, about how to manage the the heavy task of parenting in the digital world, and those learnings I'll try to convey through a series, and I call it series because there are about four different parts to this presentation that would eventually help me to share the key ways or key solutions that the parents can use in really making the technology work for them and for their families. So as I go through the slides, I'll give you some more background about why I did this and what can be done to make parenting relatively easier, at least from the management of technology. As you can see, the title of the presentation is Paranoid, and that's what I hear quite a bit from my eldest son. I do have about five or so boys, and it's enough to make anybody paranoid. Um, Anyhow, so the idea is here that these four series that I will be sharing with you, they're really meant to empower our children in helping them make the right choices and helping shape their character. So here we go. Okay. So the overall, as I mentioned, the presentation is in about four different series, but I'll begin by giving you some background as to the why. I'll get into the whole concept of privileges and the options available for our kids, and then I get into the actual series, smart series, and close off by giving some options where we can continually collaborate and things that you folks learn. You can share back with the community, with me, and if I learn anything new, I'll um, be sure to reach back out to everybody out there. So, why am I putting together this presentation, putting my time and effort in learning how to put the animation, etc. But I am a parent, as I mentioned. I have five lovely boys. Most of the time, they're lovely. But some of the times, it makes me do things like put this presentation together. But I'm also a part of a rapidly growing Boy Scouts of America troop here, and it is affiliated with our mosque in Naperville, and it's got about 150 or so scouts. They're scouts. Fro- uh, they're from the troop. They're from the pack, and then of course the Girl Scouts. So we have a total of about 150 or so kids in the scouting program, and primarily as I started to work on putting this presentation together, it was really targeted towards my scouting program. However, I think the learnings that I have um, gathered over a period of time around how to manage technology and parent in the digital world, I thought it would apply to parents really across the world. So um, that's who I am. I'm a parent here. And why are we doing this, and why am I doing this? It's really for the love of my children, and I'm sure, you know, we all hear from our kids, that they are mature, they're growing up, we should get out of the business. But it's over time, you realize that that your parents do things for you because they love you. So why am I doing this? I love my children, and hence I want to have an environment that I create for them that would help them make the right choices. And of course, if we can scale this and other parents are also able to do similar things, we can learn from each other, and we can create a broader positive environment for all the children. So, what changed? Well, everything. Everything has changed. And what I mean by that is, as I was growing up, I grew up primarily in India. And, when I was in high school, we had, of course, a computer lab, but really, computers were not to be found in homes at that time. The phone, of course, was non existent. It was only the landline that was available in a few privileged homes. But really, the maturity of the technology now and the ability of these smartphones has completely transformed how we all live our lives, and it has really transformed relationships. It's really at a point where things have completely changed. They're unprecedented in terms of how relationships are being managed through technology, and technology driving a lot of things. Um, so this is a little bit of a joke here, if you will. It's technology, friendship status, and I'm specifically talking in the context of parents. It's complicated. It's something that a lot of parents are not comfortable with when it comes to understanding technology, managing technology at home for their children. And it's a story of all the families across America, across the world, where people are mostly sitting on their iPads and iPhones and watching TV, etc., where with little communication that goes on. Most of the communication again is done electronically, even within homes. So it's kind of turning, making things a bit complicated. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? I think all the things that I mentioned here, I'm sure you folks can relate to well. And my whole idea here is to, start a community of all of us getting smarted here. So here we go. So as I stated earlier, I have about three or four, actually four specific series that I have put together here. So I'm going to provide you an overview of what you can expect, and then at your leisure you can review each of the series as it pertains to what aspect of technology you're trying to manage. The center of everything, of course, is our family unit. We've got the parents and the children, bonded by love, and then the technology starts to come into our relationships, right? So you've got the computer, the kids are looking for allowance money, and then they want to watch TV, and the content is being pushed all through the internet now. So there's Apple TV, and there are many other similar technologies and like Apple TV that are out there. And of course, the most prevalent now are the smartphones. So it all starts to encroach, if you will, upon the family unit that is in at the heart of what I'm trying to manage here by delivering this presentation. So bear with me a second here. Okay. So basically, just again showing you all the the four facets of technology and financial management that needs to happen in enabling our children to make the right choices as they begin to use these different technologies. So how do we manage the aspects which are part of life now? Uh, so I'm sharing with you some of the tools that are provided a lot of times free of charge by various vendors in this space. I'm not endorsing anyone specifically, but I am informing you about the various tools that are available there and how to configure and customize them so that you can manage the various technologies that are being used by your children and other members of your family. So from the management of the computer standpoint, so if you have multiple PCs, laptops in your house, and they're running Microsoft Windows, um, there are tools provided by Microsoft, which is I'm going to explain the specifics of how you can use them later on in the series. But just for now, I wanted to highlight specifically what tools are available to you. I use, again, as part of my home network management, I use something called the Apple Wi-Fi router. There are other routers too, but I find Apple router to be very powerful and quite easy to use. So that's that. From the allowance management or financial management for your kids, I'm assuming if you have high school going kids or middle school going kids, you may be giving them some sort of allowance, and there's a solution which is again free of cost from Google. It's a debit card which you can use to control the money that you're giving to your children. So I'll talk more about that in that series. Apple TV controls. This is again another tool that there are multiple tools that you can use within the Apple TV product. And then again, Apple Wi-Fi router is helpful to manage the network connections so that you can enable the Apple TV controls. And then again, from the smartphone perspective, there are quite a few things that I'm going to be talking about. But those are the three things here. One is, of course, the Apple Wi-Fi router to manage the Wi-Fi connection within your home, putting limits on usage by your children. iPhone restrictions itself. There are some restrictions. There are quite a lot of restrictions that are available within the phone itself, and I can tell you a very large percentage of parents have no clue about these restrictions, and I was in the same boat. So there's a lot of intricate capabilities that you can use to really make your children use technology the right way. And then I also have something from AT&T, which is called AT&T Limits, that helps do a lot of things that would allow you to ensure your kids are protected from getting into any sort of harm, and making the right choices in terms of what they're texting, who they're texting to, who's texting them, who's calling them, what times they're making the calls. All those type of things can be managed quite easily through this service from AT&T. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the specific series. So as I mentioned, I'm going to begin with series 1, which is going to focus on the smartphones. Series 2 is going to look at the computer restrictions and controls that are available, and then go into the allowance management through Google Wallet, and then the TV controls that are available for parents. Okay, so beginning with the first one, which is mobile phones.